Hey team, good evening. It is Tuesday, and I wanted to take a moment, first of all, and thank you so much for all the hard work that you're doing. We're in week 6, which means that our term is pretty much over. We only have a few weeks left, so I wanted to just thank you for all the engagement, hard work that you're putting into the class. And speaking of engagement and interaction, let's talk a moment about personal presence if we can. As you know, as instructors, recently we had a change in that we no longer look at quantity. We focus on quality. So we don't look at the number of posts that you have in the discussions in the journals and the various forums. We look at the quality of those posts. However, the thing that is important, if you're only posting a few times, one, two, three, 4 times, it's just not enough. And the reason being is if you have, uh, you know, 20 students, for example, and you're only posting once or twice, obviously that's not a great deal. It is difficult to keep the students engaged and help them learn the material and move forward if we're only posting a couple times. This is especially true if we're only offering one or two short sentences or a short paragraph for each discussion. So I would encourage you, please, even though we look at quality and not just quantity, please make sure you're going there and posting, several times. I like to see those posts where they're 10, 15, 20 times. That may seem like a lot. It does require a lot of work, but it does keep the students engaged. So if you're not doing 10, 15, 20 times, obviously I can't gig you for that, so to speak. But it is something to consider. One time, 4 times is just not enough, as I mentioned. So please engage the students. Please jump in those discussions, all those different forums that require you to be engaged and interactive. Please jump in those and keep those forums going so that the students learn the material, so that they uh, feel that personal presence, that instructional presence, and you're sharing your professional expertise with them, whatever your background may be. It helps to motivate them. It gives them that drive, and it really makes them feel that you're involved and interactive. So I'd encourage you to do that. Some of the things we look at on the assessment each week, for example, personal presence. We look at communications. One of the items on the assessment that I do communicates professionally and accessible to each student for promoting a positive learning environment. So what's it mean? Your communication is positive, it's supportive, it's interactive, it's engaged, and you are accessible to your students whenever they need to make contact with you, whether that's by email, a phone number, whatever. Instructional presence guides student interactions to promote a positive and forward moving learning environment. Again, very difficult to do if we're only posting a few times. So we have to guide that student interaction, keep them motivated, keep them moving forward. And again, the way that we do that is we jump in the discussions and we share our ideals, thoughts, and suggestions, provide those tips and hints. We're really involved, really engaged, and we keep those students moving forward in order to promote a positive and forward moving learning environment. They can't do it on their own. We have to get involved. So just one or two, a few posts, simply just is not enough. Intellectual presence applies professional expertise for creating practical, discipline-specific connections to maximize student achievement. Again, it is difficult to do that, to share that professional expertise, to maximize student achievement, to build those specific connections with your students if you're only posting a few times. So it sounds like I'm harping on this. I don't mean to, but I really do encourage you to consider really engaging your students, really being involved in the different forums, keeping them engaged and keep them moving forward. Let's talk about grades for just a moment, if you don't mind. Part of the thing that we have to do as faculty is follow the faculty promise. In addition to having that personal, instructional, and intellectual presence, being engaged and interactive with our students, is making sure that we have our grades submitted on time. Now, sometimes that's difficult. We get busy, we get sick, different things. I understand that, but the students really do expect us, and the university expects us to have our grades completed by Sunday, Monday morning at the latest, from the previous week, whatever module we're in, so that the students have an idea about what they did well and what they can do to improve. The way we do that is not simply by making sure that the grades are completed, important, but that is using the rubrics, filling out those rubrics, including information in the rubrics when the student did not score 100%, and then offering some sort of a summary at the bottom, even if it just says, please see the rubric. Now that's appropriate if you filled in those different elements where they did not make 100%, and you offered some good direct feedback for the student to help them understand what they did well and what they need to do to improve. Now, you're not required to fill out every element of the rubric. For instance, if a student did score 100%, you're not required to put anything in there, but it is a best practice. It is always good to praise the students and let them know what they did well, make them feel the love, if you will, so that they're not simply just seeing the negative, those opportunities for improvement. It doesn't take very much more time, 20, 30 seconds or so, depending on the information that you share, to offer that praise. I encourage you to consider offering the praise as well as sharing those tips and ideas and hints, suggestions to help those students move forward, to learn from their mistakes, their opportunities for improvement is what I like to call them, and give them an idea about what they can do to improve. So please consider filling out each one of those elements in the rubric. Again, a best practice, not necessarily a requirement, but it is for the ones where they didn't score 100%, and offering some sort of a summary. So the 3 points I wanted to get to tonight, if I can, just in this little short video, is one, and that is please consider being engaged, involved, accessible, professional communication, jump in those different forums, and really keep the students engaged, not 1 time or 4 times or anything like that, but really get them engaged as many times as possible. Make sure that you have your grades submitted on time, and also make sure that you are including as much information as you can, both positive as well as opportunities for improvement in that grading feedback. So those are the 3 points. While you're in the Grade Center, please make sure all the blanks are out. Put in those zeros, and make sure you have that done by Wednesday, if you don't mind, please. So that when the academics team takes a look at that, they run the stats throughout the week. They take a look, the Grade Center looks good. There's no blanks, the zeros are covered, feedbacks included, and all the assignments are turned in on time, so you've graded that. Now, I'd encourage you, especially if you're new to SNHU, check those zeros. A lot of times when you grade an assignment, a zero will populate, when it really should have been a different score. So one of the things that I do each term and several times before I submit the final grades is I check every single zero to make sure that they did populate. Because again, sometimes you'll put in a grade, you'll score that, and then a zero comes up. So you have to go back and manually put in whatever it is, 22.5 or 23 or whatever the case may be. So please check those zeros to make sure that they are, in fact, accurate and should be zeros and not something else. And then if they're not, then put them in manually. Okay, so I appreciate you taking time to do all that you're doing. I know we've been busy. We've always have personal things, professional things going on. It requires a lot of our time to grade the assignments, to be engaged, to really be involved. But that is something that we need to do. Please consider doing those things, getting the feedback in like it should, getting those grades in on time, so that we really do have the best team out there. And we do have a good team. You're very, very capable. You're very involved, engaged. We have a very good team. I'm very proud of each of you, and thank you so much for all that you do. As always, it's okay to get ill. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to get busy. If that happens, give me a call, give me a heads up. I'll be more than happy to jump in your class, give you some instructions, do anything that I can to support you in whatever it is that you're doing in your class. My job is to make your job easier. So take advantage of me, call me, send me an email, whatever I can do to help you, I will. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy evening or day to watch this video. Thank you so much for getting the feedback in, getting really engaged and involved, and making sure that those grades are on time. Give me a call if you need me, and have a fantastic rest of the week. Thank you.